Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm back in my little box, and I'm really loud. We are just waiting for sound adjustment to complete itself on my computer. Luckily, let's all clap for Lindsay Wong, who came back to work today. He may not do this the 7th year, I'm just telling you. Okay, so welcome. You guys are all here for the ICP presentation. Yay! How many of you are wearing purple? If you want to promote the ICP, you dress in purple and you wear this to every meeting you go to, like an accessory. That's what I do. And it's worked because we have our 4th pilot project going on with First 5 of Santa Clara County. Meanwhile, where's everybody from? Doreen? San Joaquin. Woo, that's awesome. I know we have San Jose State in the room. They're going to be on our program today, and they even dressed alike, so we can identify them. I see a Patty. I feel like Miss Romper Room. From Napa. Nice to see you. Where are you guys from? Foster City. Okay, I've met some other people. Other people in the room? Merced's in the house. Redwood City's in the house. Stockton's in the house. You're from Denver, Colorado. Let's just say hi to Dan. Sherry, where are you these days? Santa Clara Unified, yay. Pajaro Valley's in the house. We've got California Young World, which is one of our favorite preschool programs in Santa Clara County. Thank you for being here. Where are you guys from? Fresno. I like that Holland bag. I've been eyeing it. Seen you like 2 days in a row now. And you're from San Diego? And you are from? Where? Oh, Alum Rock. Awesome. So good. And you're from? Imperial County. Yay. I heard you guys were coming. Okay. Well, nice to meet everybody. Jay Jin's from No, you're from San Jose. How are we doing? We're not. So I can actually move forward until we get to that one and then get some speakers, but then it won't be remoted, right? So are we able to get to my share drive here? Okay. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. Are we really being virtually? Oh, darn it. Okay. I'm here to share about the Inclusive Classroom Profile, which is an amazing tool that we have used for quite a few years in Santa Clara County. I think while we're kind of just rolling with this, I'm going to have my San Jose State people come up here and just say hi and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey while I get my USB. Okay, thank you. And you need a microphone.
Hi, my name is Heather Vise, and I'm the Center Director at Associated Students Child Development Center on San Jose State's campus.
Good morning. In the box. My name is Jane Zamora. I'm the preschool program coordinator for the Associated Students Child Development Center.
Hello, I'm Linda, and I'm actually the lead preschool teacher that went through the Inclusive Collaborative program and using the tools in my classroom. And they will be sharing our success story with one of the children that were in my class today.
So at our center, we can have 110 children. Primarily, we do have San Jose State students. We're also open to the faculty, staff, alumni, and a little bit to the community. Our center, we have a very unique teaching dynamic in the sense that we have 9 classrooms, ages 4 months to 5 years old, and there's only one full-time lead teacher in each classroom. And they work a 40-hour week, and then all of our other teachers are actually San Jose State students. And they really work varying shifts. So you might have one student working Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 1, and then another student working Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 to 5:30. So a teacher could have 12 teaching assistants to like 6 teaching assistants in a classroom, and they're all very much at varying levels of education. They're at varying levels of professionalism. Some you have to really coach and mentor, while others have had experience. And all of these students, they're in the child development major, they're in education, they're in nursing. So we really believe that we're mentoring the next generation to go out into the world to help our children. At our center too with, our center, we started last year, we decided we wanted to go on the journey to do teaching pyramid. So our center for one whole semester with all of our full-time staff did the teaching pyramid, which really focused on the social emotional development of the children. And for us, because we can have up to 80 student teaching assistants, it was really important for us to identify the aspects of the teaching pyramid that we wanted to really share with the teacher assistants and implement. So we decided that we were going to focus on the PDAs, so the positive descriptive acknowledgements, and really set the stage of expectations. We are friendly, we are safe, and we are being respectful. So those were two things that we were rolling across the board. We really focused on the mentoring aspect of that with our students, and we saw a huge positive impact with our children, where my own son, who was at the time just turning 2, he was learning to identify his emotions. He was learning to be able to say when he was getting angry, I'm angry. And now that he's turning 3, he's actually telling me, like, Mommy, I need to go to the calming corner. Or, Mommy, I need to do my deep breathing when he's getting mad. So I can say it like from a mother, but I can also see it in our center where these younger children who weren't able to identify their emotions previously, now they can, and now they're going into our preschool, and they're using the calming kits, and they're using all these different tools. So for us, that was a big success story. And then Kathy, she was always like, do you want to do the inclusive classroom profile? Hey, guys.
Do.
Right? And I was like, no, I just started, Kathy. I've only been here 1 year. Give me some time. And then we decided after we did the teaching pyramid, like this was a perfect opportunity to segue into using this tool. And that's when we had Linda jump in. And we had a little girl, her name is Mia, and she has Down syndrome. And at our center, there she is. We have a lot of typically developing children. We as staff, like we weren't trained in special education. We're usually the first ones to point out to parents that, you know, we're noticing these signs or some of these red flags and having those conversations. But we weren't like feeling, okay, like we're really qualified. But we decided, let's just see. And I think that's where it really starts, is just being open, like, what can we do to support Mia? So we were very honest with her mother. We're like, let's bring her into the classroom. Let's observe her. Let's give her time. Let's spend in the program. Oh, thank you. And that's what we really did. So I think for us, after having Mia in the program and just seeing the impact it not only had on Mia and her family, but the other children too and their parents were like, okay, like, we can do this. So for us, it was also building our confidence and saying, yes, that we can be more inclusive than we previously thought. We just have to be more open-minded and be able to give everyone a chance, and then really see how can we adapt ourselves to help meet the needs of everybody.
Were they amazing? I mean, they did this on the spot, and you can see we're almost there. We had to change computer systems and go through the share drive, but we're going to get there. But seriously, I kept going, you can do it. And they really did an amazing job. And so we've got videos, which hopefully now you'll be able to hear. We're really close, of the experiences in the class. They embraced it. And I think that's the biggest hurdle for folks, is to the unknown. But you guys held hands and you did it. And they still let me come visit them. And they came today. So thank you. So we're going to, I think, oh my gosh, it's exciting. Thank you they're going to finish at the end also. So let's just thank our San Jose State team for being here and for filling in. Oh my gosh, will it happen, Lindsay? Yes. Okay, welcome. Take 25. This has been a morning of technology things, so I probably will have no brain by the end of the day because I'm grasping for it right now. But welcome to day 2. I really am excited about the ICP. It's something I've embraced. I've been working with it since 2015. Again, dressing in lavender and showing up with, your manual has really helped people to learn what it is, because it is something new in California. It's actually a national tool. And I was just on a call earlier this week with people from all over the United States using it. So we are like ahead of a lot of people, which is kind of exciting for us. So today I'm Kathy with the Inclusion Collaborative. You already know that, but we actually have a welcome link from our author, Dr. Elena Sukaku. She lives in Greece, and she has a big conference starting Monday in London. So she said, I can't do everything because she's got little kids. So she sent us a clip, and we're going to listen to it. And then we have Heather, our center director here, Heather Vise, Jane Zamora, the preschool program coordinator, and Linda Vera, the preschool lead teacher. So we're really excited that San Jose State University Associated Students, CDC, it's a lot of letters, are participating in it, and they embraced it, and it's just been amazing to see what's happened, the impact. So we're going to have a welcome by Dr. Sukaku. I'm going to give you a little overview of what the inclusive classroom profile is, and then some of the things that we've done in our county, and then the impact of what happened, the ICP being utilized in conjunction with the teaching pyramid, because they actually connect really well at San Jose State CDC Associated Students, CDC. Okay. So again, we're the Inclusion Collaborative. You already know that. Do you all feel welcome? I hope so. Okay. And we have bookmarks. We can tell you our why, but I'm going to move forward on this because it's on your schedule, actually. We do a lot of training, and we're known for our pilot projects. Those are kind of our middle names, the pilot projects. And we do a lot of trainings and obviously a conference, etc. And this is our website. So if you do nothing else, at least go to our website today. You can sign up and be on our mailing list. Right here, that YouTube link, I'm getting out of my box, is where this training will be in 6 weeks or so when we've recovered. Okay. Okay, how do we know if we're practicing high quality inclusion? How do we know? So this was the big question. We found that there were tools out there that rate inclusive classes not doing so well. So young children with disabilities can experience low quality in classes that were otherwise rated as high quality. And I won't mention any tools, but there's one tool in particular that seems to not do well in inclusive programs. And so that's why the ICP became something that Dr. Sukaku really saw the need for. So it's a reliable instrument to rate preschoolers in inclusive settings. At this point, it's used for research and for quality indicators and for professional development for childcare programs or school sites, facilities. We have used it, though, in childcare family home provider settings, but it has not been reliably rated for that. Doesn't have the data yet. So it was authored in 2012 by Dr. Sukaku. It was in draft for about 12 years because she did a whole bunch of research. Structured observation rating scale to assess daily practice to supporting the child with IEPs who have been identified in that classroom to be receiving support. And so it has to have at least one child in the classroom with an IEP in order to be used. You can use it for 2.5-year-olds, 2 to 2.5 if they have an IFSP. But to be inclusive, you have to have one child with an official IEP. However, there's a lot in there who have potential for getting an IEP. So that's why this is really supportive for that whole preschool program. All right, here's our welcome, and let's hope that the sound works.
Good morning, everyone. I am Elena Sukaku, the author of the Inclusive Classroom Profile. I'm very sorry I could not be in San Jose to participate in this exciting conference. The Inclusive Classroom Profile was designed to synthesize recommended inclusive practices with the aim to enable assessment of how we are using those practices in our classrooms, and with a purpose to support continuous quality improvement. Someone recently asked, what makes the ICP practices inclusive? I thought this was a really good question that we need to keep asking ourselves as we work hard to support the quality of the practices that we implement in our classrooms for our children and their families. I said in the ICP, inclusive are practices that first of all consider each and every child. They are evidence-based practices that on one hand scaffold and support the individualized learning needs of each and every child, while at the same time enable participation of all children in the group. We often perceive these two ideas as mutually exclusive. I think we need both in our classrooms. Solely focusing on participation of children in the group without embedding specific individualized strategies to support their learning needs might be neglecting the diverse learning profiles of our youngest learners. Likewise, recommended specialized interventions can still be implemented in non-inclusive ways if we are consistently neglecting opportunities for children to participate in the classroom's life, activities, and routines. So in the ICP, quality inclusive practice lies within the marriage of these two ideas. Thank you all for the questions that you're asking about the inclusive classroom profile and for your commitment to quality inclusion. I wish you a great conference, and I hope next year to be with you at the 7th annual inclusion meeting.
Thank you, Elena. Did you hear that? She'll be here next year? That's what I'm hearing. So we'll all send her emails. Okay, so I really wanted you to see that this has been an effort that she's very strongly committed to. She's taking this to other countries. She's been to New Zealand and Australia and Turkey, and I mean, it's just amazing where this is popping up. So I just wanted you to feel that this is like a really huge movement. We all know that preschool inclusion can make a very big impact on where kids go. This is like a pivotal time to really think about that. And so that's why I feel like this is a very good tool to use. So the profile looks at adjustments and active participation of the child with the disabilities so that they are able to participate. I don't know if that made sense. Inclusive practices support children's individualized needs while promoting active participation in the group. And that's a key thing, is that a child will come in and they're inclusive, but they're just sharing the same air or space, whereas adults need to really make sure that they're a part of that community and adjustments are made so they can access. So that's what this tool really measures. This is a link on your Schedule, and it's pretty much has all the overview of all the research that went into this ICP profile. It was studied for a long time. This was actually printed in 2009. It got finalized in 2012 and published by Brooks in 2016. So do you feel like it's been a while? Yes. There's also, and I'm going to have my monitors, they're wearing navy shirts, they're going to pass out this recent article that I just got my hands on from Young Child that also is listed in your Schedule. That talks about how you can use the ICP in different formats and for assessing different kiddos and what they need. So it's a really good research article to put under your pillow and look at. I feel like there's a whole bunch of possibilities that we could be using different items of the ICP to do specific training. So that's what this shares. And if you're here virtually, you can get the link on Schedule. Let's not forget our virtual attendees. Okay, the inclusive classroom profile is designed to complement existing classroom quality measures and standards. Has anyone done ECHRS? Okay, it's like in a 7-point scale, so it looks very similar and it doesn't freak graders out for one more thing to do. It focuses on classroom level practices that support individual needs of children with disabilities. So it can be used as a research tool, as I said, for a program evaluation, or to support continuous improvement. And those are just really what it does is it looks at the adults and what they're doing. No offense, but that's what it does. And we like to kind of share that before we come in because people often think that we're looking at kids. So as a rater, you get really distracted by cute kids. You have to really focus on the adults. So next, who's being observed? Well, all the adults. And then the children who have been identified with IEPs or high risk of some sort that someone wants to look at and see what their quality practices are happening. So the structure is 7 points. It's got 12 items. There's 12 items, 1 through 12. There's indicators, 1 through 7. There's examples, all kinds of examples. There's lots of criteria, many more, several. They all mean things that we have to be consistent with. And then there's a 7-point, as I mentioned, a 7-point rating scale. What do they measure? They look at instructional strategies supporting the individualized learning of the child with an IEP, not only in group care, but also in individualized learning and engagement in group activities and routines. Procedures for monitoring children's learning and progress are looked at, and environmental adaptations. What's in the environment that's supporting this child? And that's where the teaching pyramid comes in, because we've got all those environmental supports. So the indicators, there's a lot of information. It looks at how was the practice implemented, how well was it implemented, the frequency, you actually do hash marks, you count back and forth, as you know. You look at context, where was the practice embedded. It is amazing how indoors can be much different than outdoors. Sometimes we open the door and say, let them roll, and then the adults don't do anything to really engage with the students. So that was pretty consistently found throughout our pilot projects we've done. And then consistency. Is it done on a regular basis with different people, different times, and different routines? And then individualized. Was the child individually supported as their needs indicated? So who can use it? Raise your hand. Just about anyone who's been trained. Okay, good. And it includes 3 parts. It's about a 3-hour rating time. It includes observation, where you go in and try not to have any eye contact or talk to kids, which is really hard. And just be eyes and watching. And you have to watch the child that has the IEP. We typically will do watch no more than 3 at a time, because it gets really hard on our brain to keep track of the kids and where they go. We often identify children by what they're wearing, so we've had high bun and low bun and pigtail, one pony and the pigtails. And so anyways, then we do a teacher interview, where we actually spend some time and find out about what the practices are according to the teacher, and then we do a document review where we actually have to touch and see and look and find that mission statement for some reason that gets lost in the ether space, and parent handbooks. Those are another things that we have to look for. So we planned about 3 hours total, and you need about 20 minutes for a teacher meeting, which is not easy sometimes, because teachers, need a break, they need lunch. So we follow you around, right? Okay. Criteria for rating, again, there's a lot of different terms, several group, individual, etc. Present instructions for rating indicators. There's listing of examples of things that do count. And then there's a lot of guidelines for special cases. Okay, ICP items, how many are there? 12, you guys are on it. Were you guys, Emerson, you guys were an ICP rated site, weren't you? See, okay. 12 items, and I really like the way this is done because it's tangible things that you need to see and observe. And that's really hard to do when you're measuring quality. But these are the 12 areas of inclusive practice that have been identified as key indicators for supporting quality practices in the preschool level. So we're going to go through these. Adaptations of space and materials and equipment. Can kids have access? Do they have things represented in different ways? Is the environment set up to promote ease of use? Do adults help and support kids getting access to the materials? This one tends to score fairly high, I'm just telling you, because they all know we're coming and they, get their things ready. This is just some visual instructions from one of our teachers to encourage independent access, and that's exactly what it can look like, and then you get credit for that. This is an adult involvement in peer interactions, and it's really, many children with IEPs need some support in their engagement and social interactions, and so learning to do that in preschool is really important aspect. But adults getting in there and noticing interactions and then supporting and facilitating that. This tends to be harder, and it's just one of those that's a harder measure to often find until we've had some training on it. How the buddy system works. This is in Miss Linda's class. And this little girl here is learning how to wash her hands with her buddy, which is awesome. And so the buddy system is one way to foster peer interaction. Adult guidance for play. Kids are given choices within their play, and adults encourage and scaffold individual play and social activities, and then they help support kids in that. So I have a video that I show of little boys outside with their big trucks, and they need some help getting organized, but by the end of it, the 3 little boys who hadn't really had a focus were with their big trucks and playing together, and it was the teacher who really helped get that going. Conflict resolution. And it's amazing how many times you go and do a rating and there's no conflicts, because people tend to know there's visitors, so it's just an interesting thing. We often look for social solution kits, and there's Miss Linda's. She's got a solution kit at child level for the ready, and sometimes you might want to put one at adult level too, right? Both. Membership, making sure that promoting social climate that nurtures individual differences, providing children with disabilities opportunity for social responsibilities and choice. And we often find that kids with disabilities may not have like a class job. And so what we do with this is we look for actual indications that the child with an IEP is part of the classroom. So having their art on the room, or they have jobs. And so this is just one method where the kids had popsicle sticks and they had their pictures on it and everyone had a job. So we often will go, is there a job assigned to this kid? So that's one measure. Adult-child social interactions, and this is back and forth time where you take with hash marks and figure that out. But focusing in on the nature and frequency of interactions between adults and the children with disabilities. And then supporting for communication, looking for alternative ways that communication is supported. So signing, gesturing, visuals, we're always looking for visuals. And this is another Miss Linda. She's got her mobile scheduler, and she is helping this little child know what's coming up next by having her visual schedule. Supports for communication. This is Lupe. She's in she's doing all kinds of different supports. This is a video clip we have, but I think it's pretty long at this point. But she has all kinds of different ways she uses support. She's got the music, she's got the singing, she's got the icons, she's got the pictures on the wall, and she uses other students, which is powerful. Adaptations for group activities, making sure your child that has the IEP is included and adaptations are made for the group activities, whether or not it is to bring the flag down, move their group, have everyone hang out on the floor, those kind of things are looked for. This is an example, and it's a hard picture to see, but Miss Alina, who's at Foothill now, she has an adult support here, is used to redirect. She's got fidget stuff, and she had an alternative seating for another child. He's on a little donut with little bumps. You know how those work really nicely, by the way. So you have to just look for things that will help support that child. Transitions, we know, are fun, and some classes transition all day long, which is why they're chaotic and crazy. So looking at the nature and the pace, were there too many? We actually look at within 3 hours how many transitions were there, and you'd be amazed how exciting that can be. And then what was done to support children with disabilities? Did they use a visual? Did they use signs, etc.? So we love our timers, right? And they can go outdoors. Sometimes you don't see things outdoors. It's really interesting. Feedback, looking for positive behaviors, positive descriptive acknowledgement. Look, these guys can say it in their sleep. And our teachers acknowledging efforts and persistence for the kids. And so you often need to listen for that feedback or see a high five or a thumbs up, that kind of thing. Those count. And this is, Miss Linda's got sentence strips to remind her or to remind other staff to say, wow, some kind of positive descriptive acknowledgement. These you can get at the dollar store, 30 for $1, okay? There's no reason we don't have those. Family professional partnerships, are there policies in place? We actually have to look for the handbook. Do they have communication about sharing? Is there a back and forth bi-directional communication with families? And that's looked for. And then monitoring children's learning. Do they have the IEP? That is the big question. And a lot of these teachers will not know about it. So it's one thing that's come out of this is that IEPs need to be part of the classroom. They need to be on site, and teachers need to know what they look like. So these are some of the things that we've done in the last multiple years. We had, in 2016, we had a pilot project. We had 3 reliable raters trained in June of 2015. This was before Brooks published the ICP. So we had folks from the University of North Carolina at Frank Porter Graham come. And we did 12 classrooms, and we did a pre and a post test with ICPs. In 2018, after 2 years, your reliability expires. And our 2015 people had disappeared and had babies and were not around. So I was the only one standing. And so we got some more funding in a creative manner, and we had the University of North Carolina come out with Brooks actually supporting it. So that was a 3-way contract that no one had ever done before. So that was kind of a blazing trail. We got 6 reliable raters, and 18 classrooms were rated, and then we convinced First 5 they wanted to do inclusion endorsement, which is what the state of Georgia does with their QRIS system, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then last year we had 5 reliable raters because one had a baby, and so we were down to 5, and one of them took a few more that she wanted to rate, and we ended up doing another very similar pilot that we did in 2018. And we found 16 of the 18 QRS sites we rated got inclusion endorsed. So it was kind of a cool project. So we're going to do it again. We're signed up for January. Let's just go through our 2016 pilot project. We, again, worked with Frank Porter Graham because it's changed. We even have a different logo now, but we did participate with First 5 on this. And again, we had self-review only group. We had a self-review and an observation group, and then we had an observation-only group. An observation means that you had a reliable rater go in and do an observation, and you know what we found? When you do self-assessment, you rate yourself really high. So they were like all 7s. Anyway, so that was kind of interesting. And what we found, here's our timeline. We tend to not start in the fall because no one wants to say we're going to be rating you in the fall. They look at you with crossed eyes. So it takes me usually about 4 or 5 months, as you know, to convince people that they want to do it in January, and then we have a January through May cycle, and that seems to be working. In other states, they call it ICP rating season when they're going out and doing ratings. But I have found in the fall, no one wants to do a pilot at this point. And I know currently right now, we have many sites that are still looking for teachers. So if I said ICP, they'd probably hang up the phone or something. So we had our initial observation in January. We did professional learning once a month, brought in all the teams with their admins and their coaches. There were coaches more then. And then the ICP, we got some staff internal support from their coaches. We had a final observation in April that year. Head Start decided to close October 25th, so we had to hustle. But we did, and the rest of the group finished in May, and they did their final ICP observation and a self-review. And we had our party, and then we made recommendations. Basically what we find here's our sites that the red are the post scores, and everything went higher except this site who had a substitute. And so substitutes, it's just a sample of a day, but if the substitute doesn't know the kids' names or interact or even know what to do, it kind of lowers your scores. So that was kind of eye-opening at that one. There's a few other things that we learned. Overall, we found that by doing the ICP, people knew they had to do an ICP, an inclusion policy statement. So that was a really nice way, and that's just the beginning of getting inclusion, quality inclusion going. We had ICP scores increase. We had the self-rating, as I mentioned, we rate ourselves high. And we noticed that those folks that were teaching pyramid, because we also do teaching pyramid training here, when they had been in a teaching pyramid cohort, their scores were higher. So it really goes nicely, the two of those. We did find that substitute staff kind of negatively impact the scores, and pull out services. When you come in and take the child out that you're supposed to be looking at, you don't get any scores. And they said, well, should you follow the child to speech? No, that's not inclusion. So it's a really interesting. And so I remember one site said, can you not come on Tuesdays? That's our pullout day. Well, you know. But anyways. So it was interesting to hear the things that impact. Bottom line is all kids benefited. We had improved collaboration with teachers, just talking about inclusion and what does it mean and what does it take. And then increased awareness of inclusive practices. Because I think having them nailed out as tangible things, the 12 items, is very powerful. We developed an action plan, which always helps. And when we did our pre-rating and we did a debrief afterwards, we decided with the group and the coach and the admin there what they wanted to work on. And if you give them 20 things to work on, no one will do anything, so you pick 3, right? Or 2 maybe, according to Rosemary. We did a crosswalk that actually Brooks did, and these are some things that we wanted to, our goal has always been to incorporate it into the QRIS rating system, which is why I keep wearing purple. So let's keep going. 2018 took that long to get more funding and recover and figure out what we wanted to do, but you can see we partnered with a lot of different partners. We had, at this point, we had Brooks Publishing, and we had the University of North Carolina actually had to come out and do our trainings. We partnered with Alum Rock and Franklin McKinley and Head Start because we had a rater from each of those districts and Head Start program become reliable rated. And we thought that was a good way to build relationships, and they agreed to do it without having to pay them, so that was another Benny. And then First Five obviously gave us some funding to do this. So we had a reliable rating training November 13th through 17th. To get reliable rating training, it's a 1-day overview and then a 4-day review, observations. Observation in the morning, debrief in the afternoon. And you have to get reliable rated to 85%. And it's only a group of 3 at a time that can get rated because they do not want to take hordes of people into a classroom because that changes behaviors. So we were able to get 2 reliable raters out and train 6 people. In 2017, the fall of 2017, we selected 8 QRIS sites that Quality Matters is our local QRIS that had at least a 5 or higher, a 4 or 5, I'm sorry. And then each reliable rater had 3 sites, and they did their pre-rating. I think it was the very beginning of February because something happened. And then we had our PLCs, monthly trainings at First Five, and then we did our post-rating in May. And anyone who got a score of 5 or higher on the post-rating got inclusion endorsement. And then in May 2018, we had our final IC meeting party again. And this is what recommendations for inclusion sites to get inclusion endorsement. And you would be amazed what a certificate and a frame does. It really is powerful. And we made recommendations, of course, to put this back, keep this in the Quality Matters matrix for Santa Clara County. There's my raters, aren't they cute? And we had all these projects, participating sites, so lots of Head Start we're working on, and we had different partnering school districts that we have been working with locally. And the ICP PLC training components, we have 3 monthly after-school meetings. They tend to be like 3:30 to 5. We like to have an administrator come. The raters all come and sit with their teams that they're supporting, so that was another nice relationship-based. And we had review and discuss their next ICP. plans, we tend to go over the items. One of my staff members loves to look at the world through a lens, and so she's constantly taking little clips and catching ICP in action. And so we were able to show those, and there's something really reinforcing about seeing yourself doing ICP in a big group, and that was very reinforcing. And so the teams received that positive feedback from video depicting their classrooms. Then they show up on PowerPoints here. We found that in 2018, the top 3 items selected to be worked on was membership and support for communication and feedback. That would be the adult feedback, back and forth with the child. And so I'm going to just show you this clip because it's a really great one of ICP in action, and it's got a lot of communication examples.
Okay. Now it's Alexander's turn. Yeah, can you? Yeah. Thank you for waiting, Alexander. Achilles is right here. Perfect. Okay. Achilles' turn. Achilles' turn. Come on, Achilles. What's coming out? Can you guess?
You need to wait to see.
There you go. Yeah, Aliana's waiting.
Why so much?
Hey, that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. Wow. Yeah, come on, Ken.
Ken, you
Your
ever
turn. Yeah. Give it to Ken. Thank you for waiting, Alexander. Now Alexander's back to waiting, right? Okay.
Jaden will take.
So that's just an example of several strategies for communication there. Does everyone need a wait card for adult meetings? Come on. I'm not kidding. We could make big money on that. You saw the positive feedback when someone did what they were supposed to. They all took turns and knew what was going on. They had icons. There's a lot of positive feedback in there. So that's just a good example of communication and ICP in action. And this was actually a student in a moderate to severe autism class that had been included with Head Start. It took a while to get here, but we did. This is the other one, the example of the boys all playing cars, which is hysterical, but I'm going to move forward. It's pretty long. Here's another example of conflict resolution using your solution kit. Maybe I'll show it. It's pretty funny.
We're gonna fight over the solution kit. Okay, calm down. Guess what? We have another one. So Livy, why don't you take this one? Anthony, come on over here. Grab that one, and then together we'll look through it, okay?
You're videotaping me.
I like this one.
Okay, bring it back over here to the blocks.
This one is perfect, baby.
Okay, brush.
We can do. I know what we can do. Nah, we can do ask a teacher.
Ask a teacher.
Nah,
Nah, Anthony says no. So you both want to play with the blocks that Livy's building with, right, Anthony? What about this one? What's this one?
We'll play together.
Play together. Do you think that that would be a good idea?
Yeah.
To play together?
Yeah, let's play together.
Ask Livy if that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay? Well, I want to see what you guys can do together. Oh, Anthony.
Okay, anyways, it goes on, but did you see? That conflict was very nicely taken care of. This was the 2018 ICP rating, post rating, and you can see with all the different items. The blue was the beginning, the orange was the end. They all increased. And I think I'd warned them about substitutes. However, we did have one site that had a staff person on her texting on her cell phone. They got very poor scores. I know, it happens. On average, in 2018, the pre and the post increased quite a bit. We had one site that had new administration. They had not had the teaching pyramid, get your stuff out of your closet, let's get it up and do that. So once they had their pre and they didn't score so well, they said, we've got all these visuals in our closet, and they pulled it out again. So it's interesting how it really supports that. Even if you've been trained, if you're not reminded of it and you change sites and you change staff, things get lost. So it really pulled that out for that group. So we had 17 out of 18 get their inclusion endorsement. And they also had to attend all 3 ICP. Oh, we found the correlation that when they attended the PLCs, they got inclusion endorsement. There was one site, if you'll notice, that never showed or never came, and they had the cell phone incident, and they didn't get inclusion endorsed. I'm not going to tell you who it is. Okay, here are our inclusion endorsement sites. So you can see we moved on to other, here's Fairwood, Emerson, you're right there. And we had Sunnyvale join us, and we had San Jose Unified with one classroom also. So next step is to keep going, because we never stop. We keep wearing our purple. We decided to develop our 2019. We did 18 sites again. And we worked on getting the trainer of trainers in Santa Clara County to increase the number of raters, because that's the problem. Rating is a big project, takes up a lot of time. You have to be very highly rated, and then after 2 years, you have to get re-rated. So here are our pilot project partners this year. We had one, this is the one that we had we went down to 5 raters. So we partnered with the same folks, basically, but we didn't have to have Brooks and the University of North Carolina train us again because we were still reliable. So what we did was we had 18 reliable sites. We had 5 reliable raters. We had our pre-rating completed by February. We did PLCs again, and then we had in May our final post-rating, and then we celebrated by having inclusion endorsement of those that had 5 or higher. And most frequently this year was support for communication. 8 sites actually had indicated that was something they wanted to work on. Feedback, 7 sites. Membership was another big one, 7 sites. And monitoring children's learning. And again, these are all just items in the ICP that can be used one at a time, and that's why that article I wanted you to see, because it really does highlight that. This is just, I had another a person who did it a different way, and I said fine. And you can see that the blue is the post, and everyone increased for all the items. So it does make a difference. Significantly, we found from pre to post was there's more higher scores in adult involvement in peer interactions, which is really important. Membership increased, supports for communication, feedback, and then monitoring children's learning. So the things that they had identified, they'd actually gone up in. These were our inclusion endorsed sites. Woohoo! You see, I'm slowly working. We're working the Head Start folks in. Campbell Union School District now has 6 sites rated, which is really awesome. Oh, wait a minute. Look who's here. Oh, our San Jose CDC, Associated Students. So what we found this past spring was that input from teams is that they like the PLC format, they like the videos, they like the pictures, they like the development of the action plans, and they felt their raters were helpful. That's exciting. We also learned that there's really important that adapting the environment, instruction, and materials for every individual children's needs. What changes did your site make? They used more visuals. They became aware of IEP goals. So that was a really nice, if nothing else, if a child has an IEP, the whole team should know about it and be aware of the goals. What's ongoing, they'd like coaching in the classroom, more specific ICP training of the individual items, so we could do that for the rest of our lives. And they one gal said, where was this 20 years ago when I started? So it was really powerful to see teachers who had been in the field for a long time really, really appreciated getting the support. So next, we distribute our inclusion endorsement, and we posted it on our website. And I went to First 5. Actually, it's been rescheduled now. I'm going now in November, but I keep wearing my purple. And we've presented at Quality Counts, North and South here. We're continuing to work with Brooks Publishing, and we are developing, we already have our funding for our 2020 that First 5 has agreed to support us, and we are actually pursuing using the ICP on the local matrix because it's all being revised. How many of you guys know about QRS and its revision of the matrix? And so we are helping to support that, guide them. And then we hope to use the new preschool inclusion funding throughout the state, wherever it may be at the moment, to help support ICP trainings. So, all of that, here's the best part. you get to see the impact of the ICP at San Jose State. And this little girl, her name is Mia. That's why it's Mia's story. If you want to see Mia's story, it's also on our YouTube web channel. And we have Mia as one of our Inclusion in Action videos. She was so cute that we had to have her on the front cover. And then I thought we have to show her and her little friend because they made some really powerful connections there. So enjoy the ICP at San Jose State. Then they're going to come up and share some things. I forgot to mention that at this last pilot that we did, we had funding at the end, and we decided to get materials and supports for the classrooms to take back. So we were able to purchase some books on emotions and feelings. We made sure everyone got an expectations poster so that people could, so there's a lot of things that we were able to do because we had the funding at the end, which was unusually exciting.
So when Mia first came to the center, she was new to the center. She, from my understanding, was with her grandmother for the whole year. So she has never been at a center, and when she came to the center, she didn't know the routine or the structure of it. And it took her a while to learn that. It took her a few days to understand that and get used to that. The kids and me, even for myself, it was hard for me to have a child who's non-typical in my classroom, which I've never really had. And then the children were very curious and wondered a lot about her because she didn't look the same and she looked a little different. And basically how I started that is I explained to them that there are differences in the world. Not everyone's the same. We started going into topics about, people in wheelchairs and people of different ages, color, hairstyles, everything. And they started to understand more about differences in the world, and so that kind of built our positivity towards Mia inside the classroom with the children. So
some of Mia's strengths, she loves to be independent. Every time she eats, so she picks up her plate and then put it in the sink, and also she's very social. She loves interacting with all the children that are around her, and she's so funny, and she loves to dance. And I just love seeing her.
The first day, I was so impressed because teacher Linda was her #1 supporter. Oh, she loves her so much. And I just feel amazing just to see that her teacher supported her in everything.
So, of course, in the beginning, Mia, everyone was curious about her. They kind of stayed away because she did have differences. And when I used the buddy system, she built those friendships. Everyone wanted to help Mia. So learning from the teaching pyramid and learning about PDAs, I think it really helped the children wanting to do things. They wanted to hear those. As soon as I give a PDA to one child, all of them will, oh, I'm doing it, right away. So those really, really, help not only me as a teacher to notice the positives, but also help the children wanting to hear those, so they did more in the classroom. They followed expectations, and I think it just built honestly a positive environment to use those in the classroom. ICP has really changed my classroom environment and me as a teacher. I know I learned a lot from the teaching pyramid, but I didn't have the resources for individual children that do have an IEP. So having ICP incorporated taught me that not only has it helped the children with IEPs, but it also helped my whole class to see what's happening. And it also taught them that they can do it as young as they are. Madeline took over my visual support and did it herself because she's seen me do it. She was willing to take that control and help Mia.
Look. Stay quiet.
You're gonna read a book and then sit down?
No. Mia, don't stay quiet. So stay quiet.
Yeah, the book.
Then we go up here to grab the book.
Look. Oh, that was being very friendly.
Go down. I grabbed the book for you.
Thank you.
Mia, here.
Throughout the the pre-rating, and then from there to the final rating, to kind of see how much Linda has tried her best to incorporate stuff in her classroom. She's come to me and asked me questions. What do you think about this? So she was very open to everything to try and make this classroom inclusive. And of course, when we got to the final rating and we found out, yay, we got to that point, we actually could be an inclusive classroom. It was really a satisfying feeling, just because, like I said before, we couldn't really confidently endorse ourselves and say we can help children with special needs or disabilities. Now we can. Or we can say that we have the potential to with the right tools, and definitely with the collaboration with the parents. I think Mia's mom, Lisbeth, was very open from the beginning, and I think it helped us also know how to support Lisbeth and Mia at the same time.
You know, sometimes we think like, how are we going to get these children to understand, to care, be friendly, respect one another? And having an inclusive classroom, I think that teaches a lot, and it really does help.
I was so excited when Mia graduated from preschool. I wanted to cry. When I saw her walking down the aisle and then seeing her sitting down in the chair, was just so heartwarming.
Mia, Bercio. Woo! Good job, Mia!
You know, I'm looking for the future, having more children here at the center. Not, you know, another little Mia here, hopefully. But yeah, it definitely changes the dynamic of the environment here, and you can feel that as a whole. So I am going to miss her, and, you know, I wish her the best, and I know she's going to do great. So
I want Mia to be like a regular person, to be included into society, just to see her happy. If she has any dreams and when she grows up, she loves to dance. If she wants to be a dancer or anything, I'll be there to help her and make her dreams come true. Just want to see Mia be like a strong person and be whatever she wants to do, not be excluded from society, but be included, and not having that label like, oh, she cannot be in this particular group because she has this. But I'm gonna help her reach her goals and dreams.
Should we clap? Come on, clap. I would also like to acknowledge Ellie Ho, who is on staff with us, thank goodness, who is an amazing photographer, and she does this on the side for fun. Can you believe that? And she's the one who catches these moments that just are really, really powerful. So thank you, Ellie, wherever you are. I'll make her watch this video later. So here's our team. I didn't even call and tell them to wear blue, and they did. So I wanted to open this up. I know there are people virtually, hopefully sending us messages. If you have questions for our team, they're going to come up here in their box and answer some questions for you. But I have to acknowledge that probably the biggest thing was we built the relationships, and they decided it would be okay. And you opened up your hearts to do this. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And what you started the teaching pyramid in August, and then in January they're doing ICP with me, poor things. But it's just phenomenal the way this team has come together. San Jose State is also a teaching site. So you have, that's probably something you should explain here, because that's a tough one. They have teachers coming in, student teachers coming in new every semester. So if you think about it, if you can get a teaching site to do the ICP and teaching pyramid, it's very powerful, changing the way folks are thinking and teaching the new going out into the world. So I'm going to quit talking. I'm going to have these wonderful ladies come up. Poor things. I told them not to worry. It's going to be fine. They'll be great. Linda, tell me, what was your first reaction when you had a child with Down syndrome be enrolled in your classroom?
Basically, well, I do have a little bit of background with work. Oops. Working with special education, I do have a minor degree in it, and I do work actually with the city of Santa Clara. I'm a recreational specialist, so I have a little bit of background. But being with all typical children and then having someone who has a disability come into my classroom, I was a little nervous. Even though I have the background, it's completely different working with just typical children in a preschool classroom and then having someone with a disability come in. It had to change my ways and, recognizing that having them be more involved with the other children and not just focusing on, forgetting. Sometimes you forget, like you don't realize that that child is being left alone because you have so many children to worry about in the classroom, a classroom of 18. So I was very nervous welcoming someone in. I wasn't sure how it would work. I wasn't sure which direction it was going to go into, especially with my children and having to actually have these real talks with them and explaining to them the differences and how we are actually all the same and that we're all learning together. Just because someone with a disability may look different or act different, I was very honest with the children. I never left anything out, and I think that's the biggest thing is being honest with everyone. Even though they are children, they are humans, and they can understand as long as you're honest. So, from the first start, that's what I told myself, is just to be honest, not with only myself, the children and the families that were in the classroom. But I was nervous, but turned out great, and I did it.
Yes, clap for Linda, because she was an amazing part of this journey here. A question, did you have any comments, concerns from other parents?
I did not, because I had a family night. Basically, at our family nights, we have a huge project that we present that I've been working on throughout the year with the children. After I explained our project, I, again, was honest with the parents. I said, I want to let you guys know that we do have a child in the classroom with a disability. If your children are going home talking about it, are asking you questions, this is a time to be honest with them and have those talks. I did have some parents come up to me and say, this is my first time introducing my child to someone with a disability. Like, how do I do this? Or, what do I do? And I just told them, there's books out there. They're going to start realizing things in the world. They're going to start asking questions. And instead of holding back and avoiding it, it's time to talk about it, because that's the only way they're going to learn. And so a lot of these parents were open to it, and they were glad that I was honest with them and I talked to them about it and what they can do. Because starting in preschool and even younger, you can start teaching these children that, everyone's different, but we're also the same. And we, instead of making the world avoid these things, we need to start facing it, because children that young, they learn so much if we just are, like I said, honest with them. And so the parents were open to it. They were glad that we had someone in the classroom, because I think if we didn't, again, we're avoiding it. And so it's nice to have a child there where these parents were open to talking to their children. So, yeah.
Thank you, Linda. We have our first virtual question. It's exciting. Thank you, virtual audience. I have no idea where it came from. Do you have plans for serving more children with disabilities?
Yeah, we actually have a few children. We do. We have two. I actually have two children in my classroom right now with IEPs. I actually had one with Mia with an IEP for speech, and I currently have two in my classroom with speech as well, IEPs. So we still are working with children, even younger. So yeah, we do have those children in our class, in our center.
As program director, what are your plans for continuing this movement?
Well, my teachers don't know it yet, but we have other teachers with children with IEPs in their classroom, and I think just giving them the confidence to go through this process. And in the beginning, I was even nervous about this because we had our QRIS rating that year. We had our NYC reaccreditation. We had the CDE coming out to do their whole week-long visit with us. So it was me going to Linda like, you ready for one more thing? And Linda's going, oh, maybe. But once we got started in the process and we had Ellie as our rater coming in and how she really did partner with us and help us through every step of the journey, that to me was the most reassuring thing because we weren't alone. Like we had this team of support behind us. So I think that helped reassure me, reassure Linda, and reassure Jane that it's like we are okay and we can do this. So going forward, I just would like to get more of our teachers into this process, but not right now, Kathy.
Did you hear that? I think we have another classroom for 2020. Maybe.
No promises.
I was going to... Jane, would you like to comment on all your student teachers and how you handled that challenge?
Just share.
Sure.
What it entails.
Well, like Heather had said, we have over 80 TAs that come that work for... Sorry, teacher assistants that come work for us. So we decided that, you know, the lead teacher, they're the ones who went through the intense training for the teaching pyramid. Us as admin wanted to give these student assistants some background on that so they can support the lead teacher. That's a difficult task because 80 students trying to find a time to meet with all of them isn't easy. So, you know, Heather and I work student teachers, yes. So they go to classes. They have other jobs besides coming to us. So we had to find the time to meet with them multiple times to teach them the background for the teaching pyramid so that they can support Linda and the other teachers, the lead teachers, so that they're giving the children the social emotional support. The student staff, they're the biggest part of our center. So we had to invest more of our time as an admin team to teach them the skills, to continually mentor them. Heather and I were going into the classrooms, doing observations. Are they doing their PDAs? You know, are they holding them to the class expectations? You know, are they doing these? And then talking to the lead teachers, what are you guys doing? Like, it was a lot of stuff behind the scenes to get these student assistants to be very effective support systems for our elite teachers.
How many? Are they there for 1 semester or 2 semesters?
It varies.
I just want to let you know.
There are some students that may just be here for a semester, just because they may come to us. The thing with our center is some people don't even know that we exist at San Jose State. So hopefully they do now. But so they come to us and they're like, I wish we knew you guys were here 2 years ago, because now they're graduating in the fall and then they have to go find, you know, a full-time job. We have some that will stay with us for almost 2 years, and then they're the ones that we can, you know, continuously mentor and get them to the point where they're, you know, close to being a really co-teacher to our leads. But that's not something that's common right now, because we get people that are probably like 1 year and then they're done with us. So.
San Jose State tends to be a transfer school, and a lot of people have done their hours at a community college setting. So that's why I just wanted you to know there's various scenarios that go on in this amazing building here. We have a question. Wait a minute. I can leave my box. Hold on.
A little bit off of the ICP, but little off of the ICP, but I'm really curious about placement. So how are children with disabilities placed, you know, in your program? And a caveat to that, are students from, since you're in San Jose Unified children, you know, who are with disabilities, what's your relationship with your public school system for children that are that age, and spaces made available, you know, in that for that population of children?
So for us at our school, because we are associated students, our first priority of enrollment always goes to San Jose State families. So when we get the application in, that's when we generally will have a meeting with the parents, and that's when we'll find out if a child has an IEP. And they don't go to a specific classroom. It's not like children with IEPs just go to teacher Linda's classroom. They go to the classroom where we actually have the space available. and then we do our best to support that child in that classroom. I would say I've only been here now at the center going on 3 years, and our relationship with the Unified School District, I would say, is not really the strongest. It's usually us telling a family, like, reach out to the school district to get them assessed, get them evaluated, and maybe then someone comes in from the school district, then do the evaluation or the assessment piece, but we don't, I would say, like, have the strongest relationship, so that would be an area of opportunity for us.
I think they are actually one of the referral supports of the children in their staff that use the center. A lot of them may come in and not have an IEP or an IFSP already. However, if a child does have an IEP like Mia does, did you work with that school district?
We didn't, but my understanding was the mom wasn't having the best support from the school district. So we really worked with the mom. Yeah.
So we are with one of the children in our class right now. In my classroom with an IEP, we are currently working with the speech therapist to make those connections with them. So we are currently going through that process now. So we are trying to have that connection, but like Heather had mentioned that Mia's mom was, trying to fight for her daughter at the time. So it was a lot of that when we were going through this process of ICP.
Another comment is that our county has 31 school districts. So just because a child's in your site, you could have 31 school districts represented. So it gets kind of exciting in that way. And so a parent and the school district may not have connected on where that child is receiving childcare. Good question, though. Any more questions virtually? In person? Oh, we have a question. Hold on. Oh.
So I teach kindergarten, so not preschool, but of course I've been taking great notes on how I can apply it, and I'm open to all that. But do you have any type of process or something that may be coming up to get kindergarten in there?
I'm tired. There is, on the call I was with Nationwide, there are some kindergarten classes that are using the tool, just because it really highlights those practices. And so that's available. Whether or not it's extended later, older age has not been determined yet. But it took about 15 years to get where we are. So who had another question? Okay, go.
I think you answered my first question, which was about the role of a special educator in ongoing support. It sounds like that's in development. So then how do you figure out adaptations, accommodations, modifications that are needed for a child?
For us, when we were doing this, we had Ellie. So Ellie was our huge support system in helping us figure out adaptations and modifications, but also at our center, because we are a part of San Jose State, and she was one of our parents at the time, Andy Gallagher. She is part of the special education program at San Jose State as a faculty member. So she's also someone that we could always go to too for also help. So I think we're lucky in that sense that we do have a wider network that we can use if we reach out to them.
By the way, Andy used to work for us, but she had to get her PhD and go be a professor. She also was a speaker yesterday. So we have strong ties with San Jose State and what they're doing for inclusion practices. Good question. Any other? Oh. Go, JJ. Oh, and then Carol. There's two in the back.
Okay, thank you. My question is, were you involved in Mia's transition meeting to kinder, and did she go to an inclusive kinder classroom?
During the time as she was leaving, I know it was hard for her mom to figure out where she was going, but she did. Her mom was a fighter. So she is in, yeah, she still is. She's in mainstream, and she fought for that. But that's what her biggest goal. She was like, my daughter is going to go into the mainstream classrooms. And she told us leaving, she was like, I'm not going to stop until that happens. And that's one thing that we need is parents who are supportive. And she fought all the way through. So, yeah,
Just as a little side note, one of Liz's best friends is Lily, who I happen to know. And Lily's an amazing, phenomenal early childhood special ed teacher, and they go to the same church. So it was a matter of connecting and figuring out. She was in a segregated class for a moment. It did not work for that mom or that child. And so I think she's really empowered now to see what could happen in a typical developing preschool. And it's the parent voice that I think is really going to make the difference in this. And if it can happen in preschool, oh my gosh, high school will be so much easier. Okay, one more. We have another question in the back. Poor JJ. She's going to need her lunch.
So you kind of asked my question as well. I'm in elementary, and so we're really working on that bridge from preschool to elementary and really ensuring that those inclusive practices are happening in both places. And so we have a couple inclusive schools in our district, but I'm wondering, when you say the mom had to fight, I'm curious of what that means exactly, because we're trying to work that also be in collaboration, obviously, and not have to use that word fight anymore. That's really a huge goal that we have, is we want to work together. We want to have inclusive practices, and we want to build those processes. And so I guess my question is twofold, is what could have been different for that transition to not be a quote unquote fight? And two, my second question is, what would you recommend for that transition to be smoother in regards to the practice?
I know when the mom is enrolling her child in a program, the mom was also a teacher assistant at our school. So she kind of saw the process of our program, and that's why she wanted to see if her child could be a part of it. But during that enrollment process, she was saying that with Mia, that they wanted to put her in like a special education classroom preschool. And she went and she observed it, and she really did not comfortable with her daughter being in that environment. And I just don't think she felt like her voice was being heard. So I think the collaborative process really is, even for the parents, I think, to really know their rights and like what they can voice. And I feel like sometimes too, like she was uncomfortable voicing it. She just thought like this was my only choice, was this classroom or nothing at all. So that's why she came to us. And I think that she made these connections, like Kathy was saying, with other people. So she realized that she did have a really strong voice as the mom, and she just really needed to work and collaborate with the school district more. So I think some of that awareness between what the parents can do might be lacking because they just don't know. So I think that might just be more education. And there are different school districts that our children have gone to. We have had like a child with ADHD, and that school district during the transition process very much came to observe her at our preschool, met with our lead teacher, was with the parents, helped the child transition through the way. So I just think it's different at different schools, and everyone is in a different space and process through it all. But some parents, I still think they have to fight. So to take that fight out, I don't know if it's more education when you get a child who might be going into a program, to really tell the parents, like, these are all your options, and let them be more informed. It sounds like you're doing that at your school, but might not be happening everywhere. Is that all the questions?
I can't quite honestly remember the second question. Did we? I think if you, and it's tough because there's a lot of schools going through a lot of different transitions. Funding, I know the school Mia's from the district is having real enrollment issues. Believe it or not, it's hard to live in San Jose because it's expensive. And so I think that they have just cut down the number of people to go out and support families. And so it's really looking administratively, where are the priorities, and follow the families and make sure that they get their needs met and have somewhere to call. We always, offer all the school districts our warm line, our inclusion support warm line that they can call, and that's helped some. at least to navigate who they call within their district. But we have districts that staff change every year, and then you can't, you lose your contact there. So it's I think it's a tough navigation system for many families, and if English is not their first language, there are some school districts before they even talk to you have to go down and enroll, and that's looking for pieces of paper that might scare them to be on document. So there's a lot of different issues. I don't have the answer for it, but being willing to partner and come alongside families is, I think, the key thing. And this staff right here is more than willing to come alongside and make an impact with their students. Any more questions? Okay, can we give these guys a big hand? Woo! Thank you very much. You did it.